Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Monday. It is Monday, April 11th, 2022. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is my turn to talk. Welcome, Bara. You are number one. And yes, I did have a great weekend. Busy, but it was a good weekend. Welcome, Blue Rock. You are number two, and Brina, you are number three. Frankie, you're number four. You're slipping, girl. And welcome, Frankie. Okay, we are going to get started. Let me stop this. Okay, so welcome. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Okay, so today, um, my title today is I Can't Take You into the Next Chapter. And sometimes you have to put people in another category that isn't friends. Sometimes people treat you with disrespect and you are tired of the apologies or the apology just isn't good enough. Should you be expected to accept apologies or is it better to move on? Now, for me, this topic comes from a variety of sources. It's a topic I've had probably since the beginning of the year. Kept trying to figure out, do I want to do it? No, don't want to do it. Kept going back and forth. But over the weekend, I've had conversations with several people in different aspects of their journey through life and what have you. And everyone, we came back around to the topic of what do you do with a coworker who does this, or a friend who does this, or someone in your family who does this, and they keep doing it over and over and over? What do you do? And for me recently, on my last birthday, I entered a new chapter of my life. Um, and, you know, sometimes you have to look around and see the people who are around you, see the things that are surrounding you. Um, Maybe it's your job. Uh, Maybe it's a relationship, but at what point do you say, you know what? I'm about to write the next chapter of my life and I can't add you in. You were written out of the last one. I can't write you into this one because the last chapter or the last couple of chapters ended where it wasn't so great. And I want this new chapter to be written where my life is going to take a different direction, or the story is going to go this way instead of that way. So that is what I mean by when I say I can't um, take you into the next chapter. And I've talked about this before. Some of you all may remember this, and some of you may not. But I had this thing about there's this poem about being in the front row, and you have people in your life who are in your front row. You have people in your life who are um, in the audience, just second row on back. And you have people who are in the balcony in your life. And then you have people who they don't even make it, into the front door. So again, I say, have you been or are you at that point in your life where you're writing a new chapter? Welcome, Michael Saba. Saba, it's been a minute. And Shy Lady, welcome back. Welcome back. That is what I want to talk about today. And I want to ask you guys, any of you, have you guys been there? Um, what do you think? I mean, do you think it's wrong to, put people into, how do I want to say it, into a different category of your life? You know, when it comes to friends, at least for me, you have your inner circle, and then you have your friends, and then you have the acquaintances, and then you have people that hey, what's up? You see them, and and that's it. Um, and how do those people affect your life? You know, um, if you have the people who are constantly disrespecting you, what category are they in? The people who keep, those what I always call the repeat offenders who are always saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, or I'm sorry, where do they fit in? Do you just move on and just say, I'm tired of it? Or you say, okay, whatever. But they're not in that inner circle that when you're doing something or you're talking about something or you're moving on, that you don't take them with you. So, having said that, anybody want to come up and join me? If not, no problem, because I can talk all day. Shy Lady, welcome back. Welcome back.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, hello.
Well, here's my little 2 cents. I have been one of those people who, in my younger life, when someone pissed me off, I immediately cut them off. Now, I have learned through my own child that I should not throw people away so quickly. And with that said, there's things that she's told me about that people have done things to her, but she still kept them in her life, but at a distance. So I have learned that some people are just, everyone's flawed, including me. Hate to admit it, but everyone is flawed. And sometimes you just can't throw people away because of maybe a minor mistake or something that they said or didn't agree with you. I'm learning that as I get older, but there has been times when I've been offended in my 20s by people or in my early 30s, and I'm like, you know what? I don't like what you said or I don't like what you did, and I'm not going to talk to you anymore. But then I look back years later and I'm think like, well, you know what? She really wasn't that bad. She has some annoying things about her, but overall, I think she's a good person. So that makes me think I should have been probably a little bit more, um, probably a little more, not the word kinder. That's not what I want. Open minded. I think I should have been a little bit more open minded, and instead of just ignoring people. But I do want to say that there are certain people in your life who I have thrown away on purpose because I found an underlying um, characteristic in them that I just couldn't tolerate, like a person that was just jealous, never had anything good to say, always trying to one up you. You tell them something good, and then they want to try to over not overshadow, but they want to try and, like I said, one up you. Like, oh, I can top this song. Let me tell her this or that. So there are certain people who I think were deserving of you know the the um, the dissolvement of the relationship. But then there's some that I probably should have said, well, that's just her, and she probably doesn't know that she's just that way, or she's just ignorant. And I probably should have said something instead of just saying, "You're done. You're out of my life." And that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, so Charlie, you bring up some good points. I'm gonna go to Bahram for a moment. Do you want to get on Bahram, or you're out of your battery and you want to wait until you get
I'm
home?
okay.
Okay, so
Can you
you
hear
want
me?
to add something before we lose you?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just I totally get the whole, certain friends are for certain things, like your inner circles and all that. But I don't think, like, did you have that conversation with them, or was that a naturally occurring thing? Because when I don't know if it's different for men and women, but we have like an unspoken thing. Like, I moved away from my hometown, and we don't really keep in contact daily. It's not like you're phoning each other or texting, "How are you today?" But when I go home to visit, it's like we've never been apart. So you have those friends, and then you have the friends that are like, "Hey, do you want to go out for a night out, or do you want to go watch a game of football?" And they know their place. It's not like that conversation has to be had, but it's there are close friends that you could probably share your life story with, and have those deep, meaningful conversations, and there are the ones for enjoyment. And my grand always said to me, if you go through life with one really good friend, count yourself lucky. And that's something that I've struggled with. Like, there's only been maybe two friends that I've had in my life that I could actually say that I've had a heart to heart with. So it's a valuable thing. um, so yeah, I'll pass the mic.
Okay. Now, Byron makes a good point. He's, are those people that you've had, talks with? For me, I've had conversations with people, who have pissed me off or whatever, and sometimes I have to, keep my distance. Um, you know, um, but I've had coworkers where they've done things trying to undermine me, whatever, and I've just let them go. I mean, yes, they're a coworker, or they may be in my group or on my team, so to speak. Um, where we've had to work together, but I've always managed to make it cordial. But I don't want to go out for drinks with you. These people have approached me and say, "Hey, after this, would you like to?" No, thank you. I have other plans, and they knew what I was doing, and they knew what they did. So um, for me, um, there are people that I've just let go because it gets to a point where how many times do we have to keep going to the same thing? Okay, I need to move on. I need to do something different. I need to take my life in a different direction, and you're holding me back, so to speak. Lou Rock says something that's interesting. You learn people's certain patterns you might not agree with, and have to loosen the cord, keep them at a further distance than before. Brina says that she's learned to be patient with people. Um, yeah, so Saba, welcome back. Welcome back. It's been a minute.
Thank you. I'm actually feeling good about being back,
Oh,
and
good.
I won't be as active as I used to be, but I miss you guys.
Okay, Saba, you just went out.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I think I need to speak up. So yeah, I missed you guys, so I decided to come back and say hi. And what a fitting topic. Divine timing.
So you have opinions?
Yes, I do. I have a couple points. So first of all, I believe that you yourself is your best friend, and you can be your bestest friend. Uh, People in relationships, all different kinds of relationships fluctuate. People will come in and out of your life, and you learn along the way. You make mistakes. You'll make a fool of yourself. And asked a person that sets a really good example of someone who's self-defined. And being a role model, the potential for being a role model is universal. And so I think it's important that we pay attention to each other, but most of all, we pay attention and develop ourselves. And and can, learn how to conduct ourselves in a way that won't burn bridges and create a path where we will fall short in our relationships with other people. Because in a way, we are all allies when we choose to be. We're all our own worst enemy, and we're all our own best friend. And that's pretty much what I'd like to just begin with, and I will pass the floor. Thank you.
Okay. So Saba, let me ask you this. When you say that, you can be your own best friend or you're your own best friend, I totally agree 100%. And I also would like to preface that with one way of being your own best friend is you have to like yourself first. You have to like who you are, because if you don't like who you are, I don't think anybody else is going to like you much. But having said that, like Ian said, having one good friend through life, is something. Do you think that that's true? That if you have that one good friend that takes you through your entire life, then you don't really need any other quote unquote close friends?
Well, in a sense, that really depends on your personality type. But honestly, what is likeness, relatability, familiarity? If you become familiar with yourself, then you can like yourself. And so really, like, getting to know yourself is key to getting to know other people. And if you know yourself, you can you can have vulnerability around other people, and vulnerability is the key to a successful friendship. Uh, was there a second question in there that I didn't address?
No, I know you've answered it. You've answered it. All right.
All right.
So my next question for you guys is, you know what do you
What
do?
about Frankie? Sorry.
Frankie, Frankie is up here. The best way for me to say it, Frankie is mute,
Oh,
and
that's
she
right.
asked me to if she can come up, and I let her come up because she doesn't want to feel left out.
What up,
And if
Frankie?
she has something to, if she puts something in the chat, then I will read it out for when I pass the mic. I'll say, Frankie, you have the mic, and then I'll read whatever she said in the chat, so she will feel like she's part of the conversation. So, okay. So, do you guys believe that a person can go through life with no friends? And I don't mean, when I say no friends, I don't mean people you work with and hi, how are you? You go to work, or you go to church and you see people at church, or your family, you're around them Thanksgiving, whatever, you go over on Saturday, whatever. But do you think it's possible to go through life without any friends at all? And when I say no friends, I'm talking about that person who you pick up the phone and say, "Hey, did you watch the Real Housewives last night, or do you want to go to the movies, or what do you think about this?" Or, just someone that you can just shoot the shit with. Just, do you believe that you can go through life without that one person to do that with? Shy lady?
I think I don't think you can. I think there's got to be at least one person in your life, at least one person in your life that you can call up and say, "Hey, you know, let me tell you, did you see so and so, so and so?" I don't think there's anybody alive that, and it probably is. There are some people that just don't like being around other people. I mean, there's just some people like that, but I think it's really, really, really rare. I think you need to have some type of human emotion with others. You may not have to see them physically, but to hear their voice or hear their vibe, feel their vibe, I think that that is something that's needed. Now, there's some people that may feel like a pet bring that to them. So if that's a pet, something that is not human, then that, I guess that's the substitute for human interaction with someone. But I think you cannot live in this world without some type of emotional interaction. Like I said, either a pet or a human. You got to have something. You just cannot be in this world without any type of emotional interaction with a living um, being. That's just me.
Okay, but Shelley, you brought up a good point. So, what about those people who live off the grid and they are living up in this cabin? They've been there for 20 years, whatever, and they're just by themselves. Do you think people like that are happy? Do you think that they're in on a mental level? Do you think that they're mentally stable? I'm not saying that they're crazy or anything, but do you think that because they're not interacting with someone, because they're not talking to someone? I mean, to me, and I've never been in prison, and I may be out of line saying this, but to me, the person that's in prison and they're in solitary, they get that 1 hour a day that they can come out, and they may be by themselves, but they're out, and they may only talk to the guard, but they're talking to someone. So compare that person to someone who lives off the grid and they're completely by themselves. Do you think the person that's in prison who is in solitary is in a better state than the person who's living by themselves and they're free?
No, I don't think the person in prison is in a better state. That would probably, I think people who are in solitary confinement for long periods of time. I mean, I've read articles and stories about people who were real life situations. Some people can really stay strong in those kind of things, but for the most part, it affects you mentally. It does. And one person in particular, I don't know the extent of his confinement, but I know that Nelson Mandela spent 27 years mostly in uh, confinement when he was in prison, and he was a very strong man. And I think that confinement in prison, it definitely affects you mentally. Now there are, like I said, there are people. I saw some woman on YouTube who was living in a tiny house somewhere out in Montana somewhere, and she didn't give any indication. She was surrounded by nothing. Now I don't know how often she might have gone to visit family. I don't know, but to be out in the wilderness with nothing, I, that to me is a little bit different. But to do it by choice, I don't know. I just think that if you do that by choice, you're withdrawn from society. If you're not interacting with anyone, I mean, like I said, you can talk to people over the phone. You may not see them, but you need to have some kind of interaction with something, someone, or something. Like I said, a pet animal or something. You got to have some kind of interaction with something. I mean, because I think it helps in your mind. It helps stimulate your mind to be able to verbalize your feelings or listen to someone else. I just don't think that people were meant to be alone.
Okay. So looking at the person who is in prison in solitaire, do you think the fact that they talk to the guard however many times a day, do you think that that helps them as opposed to not talking to anyone?
I don't think it does because of the
Okay.
circumstances that you're in. It's like a depressed state. And I don't think even talking to a guard will probably matter to a person that's in that confinement, because a person that's out in the wilderness, they have the option of walking out of that home and walking amongst the trees, walking in nature, seeing the sunshine, feeling the breeze. They have those options, but somebody in prison, they don't have the option to see the beauty of the earth and hearing the birds chirp or hear the water roaring. They don't have those options. So I think it's a lot different.
Okay. All right. But Baram, are you still with us? Are you still with us? Okay, I see you unmuted yourself, but I'm assuming that you are out of battery.
He's gone.
Yeah, okay. He'll have to pick up later. Okay, so Saba, same question.
Can you ask it again, please? I was listening, but I just wanted.
All right.
Oh, the
If you
solitary
are,
thing.
yeah,
No,
the solitary
I
thing
get it.
and the person, yeah, who's
Yeah.
out in the wilderness.
Okay, so, and I know I always refer back to the 16 personality types, but I'm going to do it again because it's applicable. There are certain personality types who are A-OK going solo and can do so for quite some periods of time, but eventually they do need human interaction. And if they don't get it when they need it, they can get severely depressed. And one thing I noticed, in any documentary or story that I've heard about people in prison is people in solitary or at least in prison, being imprisoned, it really sparks creativity in the mind, and because they need human interaction, so they'll come up with creative, inventive ways to communicate with others. And it got me thinking about God, the concept of God, and if he is the existential origin, the creation of all life. At some point he was probably lonely, and then he created humanity. Well, conceptually, you know, philosophically thinking. Um, so there's something to be said about that. And so there's, two different kinds of people when it comes to socializing. There's extroverts and introverts. And extroverts, they're really good at dealing with their emotions, whereas introverts are not. And introverts are really good at dealing with, being alone, whereas, extroverts are not. So it just depends on one's personality type, which is actually depicted of their cognitive functions, how they process information. Me personally, like if I were invited to go to a concert with my friends or my acquaintances or whatever you would like to label them, I would, even though like I'm like I would prefer them to ask me to go, I probably would opt out, as opposed to them never asking me to go out. Um, so it's kind of a mental process too, and an emotional process. So like I would feel fulfilled in that they thought about me. However, I think I would be more comfortable staying at home, chilling by myself. Because when I hang out with people, I get drained. Like in person, I get really drained. And I can honestly say that I have friends online that I've never met in person, and I probably never will. And I'm okay with that. That's all I have to
Is
say.
you've said a couple of things that I think are interesting. I totally get when you say that sometimes that you're around a group of people and it can totally just drain you. I totally get that. I totally get that. I think we've all been there. But there are people who don't, either like being around other people or who prefer not being around other people. So I had another question. You said something else. You said something else, Saba. I want to make a comment on. I forgot what it
Probably
was.
at some point we need to have human interaction. Like I recently got back together with my girlfriend, and I know it's because we were both probably feeling the loneliness, and there's really it's slim pickings out here when it comes to dating. And I'm not saying that I'm desperate or anything. We obviously had something going in the beginning, and then of course my dumb fucking ego had to get in the way, and I take responsibility for that. But eventually you kind of have to even put your ego aside to be around other people and get fulfilled in that way in order to thrive. Because for example, like INTPs, my personality type, they have the highest suicide rate, and it's probably because whereas they don't need as much interaction as most people, they need more interaction than say an INTJ. And I know you probably don't know what that means, but you should probably do your research and then you would know. But INTJs are completely satisfied being alone
Saba, I'm
for
going to
really. Yeah,
interrupt you for a moment. You
sure.
sent that over to me and I did read it. So see,
Okay. Good. Well, then you know what I'm talking about. But see, INTPs at some point need interaction. However, they've already burned so many bridges and they've established such a solitary lifestyle that it's really difficult to integrate themselves back into society. And when they try, they're always slapped in the face by the rudeness of people and by just the coldness of people in general, because we
Okay,
can
I
get
let me
unsocial.
let
Yeah.
let me push back on that. Okay, the rudeness of people or the fact that they could be rude and they could be cold.
Right. Well, what happens is, whatever socialization they developed along the way has been, you know, like degenerated, if you will. It's like we have to relearn how to socialize. So one thing that I always recommend to INTPs is practice socialization regularly. Don't let yourself be alone for too long.
Okay. All right. And Frankie, you have the mic. And she says, absolutely not. You need at least one person to interact with. It's important. As a mute person, I almost crave listening to people talk. That's interesting. That's interesting. And Frankie says, and okay, another great topic, Salad. You took it another way, but it ties in with the topic. Thank you. Thank you. As a mute person, I almost crave listening to people talk. That's interesting. Can you go into more detail? Can you write in the chat what you mean about that? And Shy Lady, while she's putting that into the chat, I'm going to go to you. What do you think about what she just said? That as a mute person, you almost crave to listening to people talk. Do you have an opinion on that?
It almost seemed like being a mute person is kind of like I've heard people that are blind. They almost have like an extra sense or something. They can feel things that people with the sense that actually have it. They it's amplified or something. I've always heard that like about blind people. They have an extra sense or something. And I think it's very interesting what she said as well because of that, because she's missing something that most of us take for granted. And she actually cherishes that because she is missing something that most people have. So
Okay.
in conversations, whether they're not audible or not, I think conversations and just communication is very important to her because she's missing that element that most people, like I said, take for granted.
Okay. All right. I mean, and that makes sense. Let's see. Okay, so Frankie says, I mean, I had the ability to speak, but it was taken from me. This is why I love your show. People sometimes express what I want to say. Oh, Frankie. Well, I appreciate you coming onto the show. Okay. So Shy Lady, you want to respond to that or anything that Sava said?
Um, no, because some of the things I didn't understand what she was talking about with the acronym. So no, it's all good.
Okay. I will follow that. I will forward that to you. Saba forwarded that to me a couple of months ago, and it is interesting. So, and you will find your personality type. So I will send that over to you. Okay. And then what about what Frankie says? That people sometimes express what I want to say.
Um, I think that's. I mean, she's even though she has lost the ability to verbally communicate with her mouth, it doesn't take away that she still is a person that can hear. She's able to interpret other people's feelings, so she still has that. But I think that what she says is all very interesting. She just seemed to cherish what the majority of us have more than we do. And I
Yeah,
think
that's yeah. Okay. Saba, you want to respond to Frankie or
Yes.
anything else?
Yeah. So Frankie, I was just wondering, like, so when you listen to people talk, do you like listening to people interact with each other, or somebody talking to you, or maybe a podcaster that's addressing their audience? Um, and then also, do you write? Are you on QRA or Reddit or anything like that? Like taking the opportunity to communicate your points of views to others?
Okay, she says everything. And she says QRA. I'm not
Well,
familiar with what that is.
Quora, Quora.
Yeah, and I know what
Okay,
that is. So maybe that's what she's
I
referring
should have
to.
said
That's the
Quora.
acronym that you all use.
Yeah.
So okay, all right. Yeah. Shalay, you've heard of Quora. Sometimes when you Google stuff and you ask a question, then Quora will come up. So yeah. So, and then the rest of you guys, that are in the chat. I mean, what do you think about Frankie's situation?
Can I say one
Um,
more thing?
sure.
So Frankie, so I feel your pain in a sense, if you do have pain with that, because unfortunately, like I can't just do the typing thing all the time because I have a visual impairment, and so I can actually lose eye power throughout the day if I do too much, and then I just cannot do any texting at all. So I really rely on speech. So just want to throw that out there.
Okay. So, anybody else have anything that they want to say to Frankie or
That is true, Frankie. People
okay,
do abuse speech.
some people abuse speech. You know what? And I think that's true. I think that sometimes people say things that they shouldn't, whatever, and and that's abusive. So, yeah. But I want to go back up to something that Brina says. Brina says life would be very hard without a bestie or at least someone that loves you. All right, so I'm gonna go back to my original question or my topic. I can't take you into the next chapter. So going to what Sava said that you have these people who are used to being by themselves and they have to integrate back into society, whatever. Um, what if you're that person that just continuously, as I said before, is that repeat offender? And, you know, like I said at the beginning, I can't write you into, your story ended in that chapter. What my story is going to continue, and I cannot. The next chapter that I'm going to write, you're not going to be there. How would you feel if someone did that to you? How would you feel if someone basically didn't write you into their life, that you were done? And that's for either Shiley, Saba, Frankie, anybody.
Mm, mm, well, Shy Lady usually goes as first. I need structure.
What was the question again? I want to understand.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on for a second. I want to read what Brina says. I think Frankie has great comments and insight. Oftentimes, agree with her. So do I. So do I. Shy Lady, my question was, if what if you were that person who I told you, Shy Lady, I'm sorry, but we've had these ups and downs, whatever. I can't, I'm going into another part of my life. I can't take you with me. Would you be upset?
Honestly, I probably would be, because I would want to know, what did I do? What have I said? Especially if I think, if I was under the assumption that our friendship was genuine, then I would probably be offended and say, oh, what did it was something that I said? What did I do? And if that person said, well, you said this or that, and I would have been like, oh, okay, well, if you feel that way and you don't feel that I'm a value in your life, then okay, I understand. I wouldn't be offended anymore if I knew, if we communicated, because sometimes people are in your life for a season, I do believe that. I've had people come and go in my life over the years, and sometimes they're just in your life for a season. I've had many people that I've worked with in corporate. When we were in corporate and worked, our cubicles were right by each other. We would go to lunch. We would even sometimes go to after work parties. And then when I left the company or they left the company, our communication kind of like left too. So I realized that basically all what we had in common was a work relationship. And the same thing has happened to me in churches as well. When I've left or they left, they chose not to communicate anymore. And I realized, it was just a season.
Okay, so it's interesting that you say that because Sava said something early on. She said sometimes best friends. What did you say, Sava? Sometimes best friends are in your life on a temporary basis.
Relationships fluctuate, and sometimes the bestest friend that you could have at any period of time is a stranger, even though it's temporary. That's what I said.
Okay, so Shy Lady. So thinking about what Sava said, what if you had that person who went off the grid? They just said, they just went off the grid. They didn't talk to anyone. They got rid of their cell phones, whatever, and they didn't tell you. They just went off the grid. Would you be upset about that? But they did it. But they did it to everyone, not just you. They did it to
Mhm.
everyone. They just went off the grid.
I would be upset, not for my relationship with them, but I would be upset for them, probably mentally, that they didn't have the what's the word, the comfortability or vulnerability to go to me or one of those people and say, hey, I'm going through something in my life right now, and I just need to think or be by myself. I need to do like a sabbatical or something. So or if they said, I just need my space and I'm going through some stuff, then I would have wanted to say, hey, I understand. If there's anything that I can do to help, let me know. I would like to have had the courtesy of offering genuine friendship or help, as opposed to, um, I don't want to be bothered or whatever. Let me just do this without any contact. Because to me, it's like, if you really are genuine and a friend, you would let people know. And if you don't, then there's probably something going on with you mentally or even spiritually. There's something going on. If you've been friends with a person that long or a certain amount of time and you can't communicate with them and let them know that there's something going on in your life, that you need to distance yourself, or you need to get your thoughts or your heart together, then there's maybe something wrong mentally, seriously. But I would respect a person's decision, and I would, as I grow older, I try not to take things personally, and that it's not about me. As I get older, I'm, getting more wisdom like that. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I probably would have been offended because I probably wasn't mature enough to accept that people go through things in their life. Because once you start going through some things of your own, once you get in your 40s or whatever, or 50s, then you understand that some people deal with stuff and they have to go through some things. So I don't take things as personally as I used to. Now, if I did something, I want to know, what did I do? Let me try to be a better person if I did something that offended you.
Okay. Now, Brina says, I have had to cut people out of my circle. Your company matters and can affect your mood and how you deal with others. Sometimes you just grow out of people and they no longer fit in. So, Shy Lady, again, remember when at the very beginning I said, to me, and again, this is just my own opinion. You have certain categories of friends. You have your inner circle, you have your friends, you have the people you just say, hey, what's up? And you just have those people that you just may wave to, and that's it. So when you say about those friends, are you saying that everybody that you know, or you should, if when you say if you were a friend, are you talking about that inner circle? I mean, how how much does that friendship, how much should I as a friend tell you Like, okay, for instance, okay, let me break it down. I've known you for about 35 years. We've been friends for 35 years. We met at work. We're one of those people that, you know, when we left the workplace, we kept in touch. We made it work. Um, in terms of when you say if you were a friend and you would tell me, are you talking about someone again that's in your inner circle or just somebody that you just casually know? Am I making sense?
I think she had to take a call.
Okay, she's not okay. So Saba,
Yes. Too bad she had to leave because she. I don't know. But, so I don't think anybody has the right to dictate whether or not someone is a good friend. And it could be twisted the other way around too. Like, you know, if somebody becomes homeless, let's say, and then they try to go mooch off of their friends or go lean on their friends, you know, um, just because whatever they're thinking that's okay or whatever. Like, I've had friends try to do that to me, and it was a burden. And you know, if that makes me a bad friend, then that makes me a bad friend to them, but that probably makes me a better friend to myself, and that's called being prudent, right? Um, you know, if you don't have the means, you don't have the means, and also you probably would be enabling them because for whatever reason, you know, they're homeless. It's probably something that they did, you know. And when I was homeless, my closest friends had no idea that I was homeless. But see, now here's another realm of friendship that I got into with either strangers or acquaintances. Not that necessarily I didn't care about them as much, it's just they didn't know me as much. And I and they were there at the time, and so it was one of those by default things, yet there was still respect involved. So really all it boils down to is yourself. What kind of friend are you? And if you went through something like that and you didn't want to burden your friends or you didn't feel like they could handle it, and that's, you know, that is up to you. How you feel about someone else is up to you. They cannot dictate that, and you cannot dictate how someone feels about you. So if I had a friend and they were, you know, close to me at some point and then they kind of tapered off, maybe they got a significant other all of a sudden, or they became homeless, or they were going through something and they didn't feel the need to come to me about it, I would respect that. And when they come back around, I would still be the same old me because I am self-defined. Nobody defines you. Your friendships don't define you. Only you can define you. And when you define yourself, no one can define you. So I've had friends where I felt the need to shun them because of some, you know, immature thing I felt, or, you know, maybe I thought I could dictate what is a friendship. And when we did get into contact in the after that in the future, um, they answered the phone all happy and like, hey, how's it going? And it surprised me, but it taught me a lesson. You know, like it showed their character. And so I think that, you know, self-focus and self-definition is key, especially if you want to be a good friend and or to have good friendships. It really all leans on you and your character.
okay. Now Brina says, agreeing with Shy Lady, that some people are a blessing and some people are a lesson. And I think that's true. You know, some people, you know, they teach you that lesson, you know, and sometimes the lesson's taught over and over and over, you know, before you finally get it. So that's an interesting statement, Brina. And then I can't consider someone a real friend if they can't tell me they need space, unless I haven't just come across with someone with severe depression. Okay, and just going through the rest of these comments. Okay. Hey, sweet Willie. You are so silly. Oh, Crucible, welcome. You have the mic.
Hey everyone. Yeah, I think it's human nature to want people to handle things the way we would handle them, and it's just not fair, and it's just not realistic. And I'm going back to the example that Shy Lady was given, that maybe it was Shy Lady, maybe it was somebody else who was saying if a friend drops out of sight, they need space, they want to take a sabbatical, whatever the terminology is, and they don't communicate that. First of all, you may have misjudged the nature of the friendship. But secondarily, I mean, like I said, people handle things differently. And we as people tend to judge them harshly if they don't do it the way we wanted them to do it. And in a lot of cases with friendships, particularly work friendships, and I agree with Shy Lady again on when you change venues, the connection kind of goes away. The venue was actually holding you together. The workplace was holding you together. But when you when a friendship gets tested and there's adversity all of a sudden where there hadn't been any before, it was just kind of sunshine and light. We go out to lunch, we hang out, everything is light and fun. And the first time adversity hits, that's when you kind of judge. You have a window into how people deal with things. And you can suddenly go from very, very close friends to suddenly going, what the F happened here? And it's the first time you've been able to witness how somebody handles adversity. Maybe you didn't know them as well as you thought you did. Maybe you made some assumptions that shouldn't have been made. But I think we should be less judgmental and be less willing to hold people accountable for things that we don't understand, but maybe we don't have to understand them. Maybe that's their way of doing it, and we can't take everything personally. Put yourself in their position. You don't necessarily, and again, if you're having depression issues, if you're having anxiety issues, or any kind of social, problems with your behavior, those things can't be regulated. Medication, all those things. So you just don't know anymore. So I think we need to get out of ourselves sometimes and not get so caught up in, well, why did she do this? Or why didn't he do this? I would have done it this way. Well, then you would have done it that way. But don't take everything so personally, because you don't know what somebody's going through. And we have a tendency to attach ourselves to friendships because we read so much into them that we want to be there, but isn't necessarily there. And when the thing goes south, we blame the other person instead of saying, well, maybe I got ahead of myself there. Maybe I didn't read that correctly. So I just think we shouldn't be so quick to blame how people handle adversity in their lives.
That was well said. But I would say that sometimes, when people do things, as I have always said before, if you're a repeat offender and, you're doing things over and over and over, then how the other person handles it, if they choose to kind of step back or whatever for a while, or forever, whatever, you can't blame that person. It's like, how much does, your mom tells you, don't touch that electrical outlet, and you keep doing it, you keep getting shocked over and over and over, at what point are you going to stop touching that outlet so you stop getting shocked? And as Brina says, some people are a lesson, and as you get older, as I'm getting older, I am realizing that, some people are lessons, so do I, again, take that lesson into my next chapter of my life, or do I close the book there and say, okay, I've learned my lesson. It's time for me to move on and continue writing my story. But that person may not be in my next chapter. I mean, I think that's fair.
And I think it also depends on what else is going on in your life at the time that this kind of friendship crisis hits. If things are going well and you've got other friends in your life and life is good in general, you might be able to roll with it a little bit more and kind of let it, well, okay, that'll be something I'll put on the back burner for now. We'll revisit that later. Maybe there's a problem there. But if you're going through some stuff yourself and maybe you're losing friends or you've got some other personal things going on, the timing is everything, as they say in life. So if you got a quiet period in your life, you might be able to absorb some of this turmoil a little bit better. But if you've got stuff going on and all of a sudden one of your friends disappears and kind of the rug gets pulled out from under you, depending on what's going on in your life, we respond to things differently.
This is true. This is true. And people do respond to things differently. I'll just leave it there. Sava says, let's bring up investing in others. Hold on. Michael says you would probably die before you figure it out. I'm trying to see what he's talking about here. And Chalet says, you are back. Okay. Chalet, you're going to have to go out and come back in. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Michael. Oh, the electrical outlet. Oh, boy. Oh, you got me chuckling today. All right. So, Sava, you want to bring that up? You want to start talking about investing in others?
Yeah. So, I mean, not all friendships are the same, right? Sometimes friendships are, have different bases. Like some friendships are based on learning, some friendships are based on work, some friendships are based on smoking weed. You know what I mean? So, of course, like you wouldn't want to like be the friend who's always supplying the weed unless you're just like you're appointing yourself that. And you wouldn't want to like for example always supply, let's say you're in contact with somebody on the internet and you are under the impression that y'all are going to share knowledge and learn together, and they want to like use your time to discuss things or just have you in their presence. Like for example, I'll give you a specific example. Like I have friends or so-called friends, but again, like I said, I can't really dictate what is a good friend. I just have to be a good friend to myself and to others. But there's been times where like they wanted my time, and I figured if we're gonna take time with each other, like we need to be on the same page about certain topics. So you'll take the time to send them information and do research yourself, but then come to find out this whole time they didn't even look at anything, yet they still wanted your time. They wanted to pick your brain, they wanted to use you in some way, shape, or form. And I think that if you set your own boundaries and limitations and set your own standards, and that comes along with self-defining, then you'll come to realize that perhaps in your eyes that person isn't worthy of your time. And so then you could take the proper measures to preserve yourself and your energy and mental sanity by withdrawing from engagement, either sending them for information and expecting things of them, or talking to them altogether. And that is your choice, and it should be respected.
Okay, you
Instead
brought up
instead of
go on.
trying to force that person to comply with your standards.
Okay, all right, but you brought up that word there called respect. And
Right.
when you're in a relationship with people, whether it be it's your lover, or your mom, dad, a friend, whatever, there's still that respect factor. And that has to be adhered to. And when a person is feeling the disrespect from another, it's kind of hard for that person who's feeling that they're being disrespected to kind of get on board. You kind of, you know, it's like you're driving down the road, and somebody cut you off, and now they're driving behind you. Even though they're behind you, you're still constantly looking in that rear view mirror. So you have relationships where you're constantly looking in that rear view mirror, because when is the next time that the person's going to do the same thing over? you know um but that's just me. But I'm going to jump over to Chill. He just joined. Welcome, Sweet Willie.
Hey, what's happening,
Oh,
everybody?
how are you today?
Quite well, if I say so myself. What's up, JP, Lou, Sava, Crucible, Frankie, Shy Lady, Brina, so whoever else is in. Ralph, you in here? Yep. But yeah, so Mike, what up? Bow, what up? Um, what about? I feel like this happens. I can speak to this. I have a friend. This was mine, not maybe necessarily on the same angle, but he gets in relationships and he disappears and comes back. How do y'all feel about them? Like those friends that they got like a girlfriend or boyfriend, and they'll leave for like a year and then they'll pop back up like, hey, I'm single again. We can
That
go
means
out and
that you're
kick it.
always single. Sorry.
That
Wait,
means
are
me.
wait,
Oh hell,
wait,
hell no, not
wait,
me.
are
Them.
you
I'm talking
saying
about
that
them.
they're not paying attention to you because they have this other person in their life, and then when that person's gone, then
It's
they
just
come back and they
people.
want to
It's
be
just the
your friend?
people. Yeah, family can happen like that. It could be anybody. It could be a person who just leaves. They get in a relationship and they leave, and then they'll be pop up like, hey, like 3 years later, come back around, and then they may get in a relationship a year later, and you kick in. Like it's just not. It's not to say I can't say they're not a friend, because I guess technically, if I called on them on an emergency, that it's not like they wouldn't help me. But it's I kind of feel some kind of way about stuff like that. It just makes me think about that. Like I got a
So
couple.
does it
Everybody got
piss you
those
off?
friends. No, no, not really. But it makes me think like, you know what? Are they real friends? So that makes you think like. But I think all friendships are based on what you will and won't take from a person, right? And everybody's right and wrongs are different, and I don't care about what I'm never gonna be like, if you in my life, especially in like a relationship, if you can't fit in accordingly, you just won't be around. Like I'm not gonna like I got friends for years, especially by now I'm 40. So if I get with somebody, they gotta accept me and my friends. Shit, that's it. I'm too old for that shit. I'm way too old for that shit. I mean, but I do get to points where you like, I feel like I want to put my all into this one person. But goddamn, it ain't that much time in the day that you gotta put like every single fucking bit of your loin in the, like, I mean, you can have some friends. Shit, that's overbearing. I need you to get the fuck out of my face sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I want you to go out and have some friends. Like I want, you know what I'm saying? Like, golly, so it's just, I think it's not natural and to somebody to be that into a person. And if you were, I mean, you got to be able to, you know, I got to be able to have friends over, or you know what I mean, or you got to be incorporated with my family, because that's just my dynamic. Now, some people may not have that. Some people got a lot of family, or they don't get along with their family, and I get that too. And so that's a little bit different. But I can't. When it comes to stuff like that, I got to be solid all the way around. Like if I'm not gonna act funny towards you, no matter who's around, no matter what comes up. I don't like acting funny towards. If I'm acting funny, it's probably because of you. You know what I'm saying? Not because of the situation or people. And typically, I try to address those things. And I feel like if we address things with our friends, we typically won't have issues. If we let her, if my friend has a specific like standard, like Sava said, this is what I expect out of you. Then because I know I mean, I'll do some shit, or we do some shit, and you don't even know, and then they'll feel some kind of way, and it's like, all right, why you didn't hear from them? And then they'll expect, they say, well, I shouldn't have to tell a grown person this, and the third. And like, I mean, some people's criteria are different. So if you get, a friend, y'all should talk about those things. You don't have to be in a relationship with somebody to talk about real shit. So and like, or standards is what I would expect as a friend. If we just drinking buddies, we just drinking buddies. But some people will take you as a like a real friend. Like I had to break up with somebody because they were like that. Like they would be a person that they would use people for entertainment. She had like 3 friends that would call her like friends. That's my girl. That's my friend. And she'd be like, yeah. At home, she would me like, yeah, I just go out with them because I get bored. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but they thought if you ask the other person, they're like, damn. And so knowing that relationship is important, you know. And she wouldn't have. I don't think it's that she wouldn't have told them. It's just they never talked about shit like that.
Okay. I want to read something that Angie says. She says, I am trying not to tolerate things same as I used to. Some friends you hardly hear from. When everything is good for them, then it goes bad, and you're the first person they come to. That is true. And Brina says people that disappear and come back are just acquaintances. They're not close friends, in my opinion. And that's Brina. That's when I come to the whole inner circle thing, because some people are in your inner circle. You have your friends that are in that inner circle. Then you just have your friends. And then you have people who are just, hey, what's up? Oh, you're back.
No, I had to get some pushback on that though. That's not all the, because I'm talking like I have lifelong friends that'll do that. Like 2-3 years they're single, and we spend almost every other weekend together, going out kicking it. This person's at my house. I know his kids. They know my kid. You know what I'm saying, and vice versa. But boom, relationship goes nothing. I didn't do that when I was in a relationship to them. You know what I'm saying? So that's their choice. I don't get mad at them. So I can't say they were not my friend. I just don't like that action. That would not stop me from being their friend, though, at the end of the day, because I still love them. And if that's what they got to go through to get to wherever they need to. Maybe they're embarrassed of their relationship or something. Who knows? But it just appeased me that would happen.
Okay, so you're disagreeing with what Brina says, that they're not close friends. I mean, when you have people
Acquaintance,
that
can't call
disappear,
them
I'm not.
acquaintance. Yeah, I wouldn't call them acquaintance. Not when y'all share a lot of life and times together. Like that's got to be more than acquaintance. You go to the children's graduation and shit like that. Like you don't, and y'all spend like intimate time with each other's families.
Well, I mean, people have different definitions of
Acquaintance.
friendship.
Yeah.
Shy lady, welcome back. Are you there? Are you back? Okay. Jump over to Crucible.
Yeah, I think that's what Chill was saying and what Brina was saying. I mean, everybody is kind of weaving through the same theme here, and all friendships are not created equal, and that's okay. As far as people disappearing and coming back, you got to treat them accordingly, because I've had people do that, and I was probably guilty of it when I was very young, when I had my first girlfriend, and in high school, and I'd go around my friends when she had something to do, or we were just taking a little bit of a break, and I would get a lot of they would give me a lot of jazz, and rightfully so, being a fair weather friend and everything. But you got to read the situation right. That's, I think, we allow ourselves to be disappointed because we sometimes invest in things we shouldn't invest in, or we're invested in a different way than the other person is invested. And it shouldn't take that long to evaluate whether you're seeing it clearly or not. And if you aren't seeing it clearly, then you act accordingly. You treat people as you find them. If people are loyal and they're communicative and they're in touch a lot and you feel connected, you act in kind. If people are more fair weather, they're in and out, they're not committed, then you treat them accordingly as well. So I think we all are guilty, I certainly have been, of misreading friendships or relationships and being disappointed later, and being very quick to blame the other person for the breakdown, when in fact we may have just not seen it as clearly as we should have, and maybe shouldn't have made the investment, to Sava's point.
Okay. Um, Shy Lady, yes, I was talking to you. Are you back?
I am, but I actually had a young man, a 17-year-old, talking to me about a girl, and of course my ears started getting intrigued. But anyway, okay, I'm back now.
Okay, so of course I'm not going to repeat the entire conversations everyone
Oh,
has
of
had, but
course
do you want
not.
to add anything?
I just wanted to add. This is back when Chill was talking about when he asked a question. What do you think about a friend who, once they, get someone special in their life, they disappear? And I was laughing about that before my son came in because I was reminded of one of my husband's friends. Every time he gets in a relationship, my husband said he loses his damn mind. He just forget you even exist. And then when something, when they break up or something, he's like, "Hey man, what's up?" And I just laugh because I thought of him. That's all. But there are people like that, and it's like they get all wrapped up into the other person. It's like they put everyone else aside and just spend all their energy, their time with that other person. And it's like they forget that they even had a friend before the person came in their life. And I don't understand how people get like that either. I don't get it. And it doesn't. I don't even think it matters if they're young because this person is good and grown, very seasoned, and every time they get in a relationship, they disappear.
So, Shy Lady, let me ask you this. Do you think that you should give people a pass? And I'm probably saying this wrong, guys, so don't kill me. Um, do you think you should give people a pass if they have families and they may not go out with you as much as they used to, whatever, but you all still kick it from time to time? Because you have some people that get upset if well, they just got married or they just had this baby or now they whatever, they're always with their family. But I think that you can still be friends with people like that. I mean, I think that for some people it just works.
I absolutely agree because I don't think just because you're married, you can't have a friend that's single that's not married. I don't think that you have to just have only married friends. I think that's dumb. You should have a friendship with a person because you enjoy their company, you have things in common, and you like hanging out with them, regardless of their marital status.
Okay. All right.
Hmm.
I'm gonna pass the mic over to Frankie, and Frankie says, let's see, where is it? She said something here. Okay, if you're a good friend or a bad one. If you don't respect people, you're not a friend. Okay, and let's see, Frankie, did you have anything else to say? No, that was it. Okay. DMAX says different people have different criteria for their friends. You can have a friend that you talk to every 6 months and you pick up right where you left off. My friendship with A is not the same as a B. DMAC, you make a very good point because there are friends that you may not talk to for periods of time, and when you do talk to them, it's like you just spoke with them yesterday, or you just saw them, and it just works. I always look at those friendships as, they're just easy. Those are the easy ones, and every friendship is not the same. You have friends that don't like each other. I have friends that don't like each other. So if I plan on doing this with this person, I'm not going to ask that person because I know those two people, they get together, they're going they're going to go at it. you know um and I also want to bring up something that Chill said. Well, let me read what Saba says. Chill, what it tells me is that they are the type of friend that needs to apply undivided attention to the closest person in their life at that time. Yeah, I mean, there are some people that are emotionally clingy, and I'm sorry, guys. You guys have heard me say this before. I do not like emotionally clingy people. It drives me up the freaking wall. It makes me batty. Okay, it just drives me up the wall. But Chill, I do want to say something. I do not believe that if you bring a friend over to meet your family or something, that your family has to like them, or your family has to accept them, or vice versa. So my question would be, how many people would let a friendship go if your family didn't like them? Or a relationship? How important is your family liking your spouse? I mean, is that really important to you? The woman you're going to marry, or the man you're going to marry, if your family does not like them, but you really love that person, are you going to disregard a relationship that this could be your soulmate just because your family doesn't like them? Anybody?
Yes, I have a little story about that, Solid. This was many years ago, probably 25 years ago, and I had met this woman that I was absolutely head over heels for, and we worked together. And anyway, long story short, I was just smitten with her, and I would just be telling my mother all these things on the phone for the first few months of our relationship, and I really, really thought we were going to get married. And I'm telling her all these things. This woman is wonderful. She's terrific. And I maybe I built it up too much, but she finally came here to visit. We went out to see my parents. And a couple days later, I was talking on the phone to my mother, and she just hit me with a thunderbolt. And she said something about this woman. And it wasn't particularly, harmful or anything like that, but it was kind of like, so you really like this girl, huh? Kind of a thing. And I was like, where's this going? And pretty soon it was clear to me that, because she told me, that's why it was clear. My mother was like, well, there's this and there's this. And I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And so, I love my mother. I respect her judgment. I listen to her all the time. Unfortunately, she's not with us anymore. But back then, I took her advice almost all the time. And so to hear these things, I'm like, how could I have missed this so badly? Is she right? Is she wrong? Is she misjudging this woman? I mean, this was in the very early stages of the relationship, 3 months. And we ended up dating for probably 4 to 5 years. And over the period of time, I started, and don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I took what my mother said about this person to heart, and I started to look at this person a little bit, gradually, slowly, through that lens. And there were things that would come up, and I'd go, maybe my mother had something there. And then another time, And so that was enough of a germ in my head to start evaluating things a little bit differently. And did that have anything to do with the fact that we never ended up getting together or getting married? I can't say for sure. There was probably a bunch of things after 4 or 5 years, but I'll never forget that first few months of being completely disoriented and completely thrown off my guard as to how we could be so at odds about the same. But it's kind of like, are we talking about the same person? So yes, to answer your question, I let it affect me. And whether it ultimately led to the demise of the relationship, I can't say. Was it a contributing factor? Probably, yes. I would have to say yes.
Okay. Lou Rock is throwing up a little religion here to us. Genesis 2:24. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Okay. So, what do you all think about that? Okay. So, Shiley says, "Do you think your mother's words may make you biased?" Well, he said that he started to think more about what his mother was saying. So, Jill, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah. So on that is, look, I'm not saying that you just like. Of course, people not gonna like each other. I mean, shit, I don't like my brother and my mama sometimes. But do we go to barbecues, and can we still share a laugh and love each other at the end of the day? You know, if my mom or somebody in my family sits me down enough to say something like Crucible said, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna take it wholeheartedly. I mean, they don't have to live with them, right? But I can tell when it's typically your mom, especially your mom. My mom, I should say, she wants the best for me, and if it's something that I can't see, especially like it's in your 20s, because you can be smitten easily. All she got to do is have a pretty face and make you laugh and shit. So she may be giving me some game, and to listen to something like that, it was nothing wrong with that at all. You know, it's just what you should do, and because they're trying to teach you something, maybe if they see something, man, you know what, you paying for everything, and she don't cook, she don't clean, she just taking all your money, like you listen to things like that, and that's what you want. If somebody loves you, they're gonna try to help you, and overall, they gotta be like, I can't be. No, it's not because they don't get along with my family. It's because like I just typically couldn't find nobody that in my life that if I just couldn't imagine you not getting along with my family. If you get along with me, you're gonna get along with my family. Period. Like, and if it's not, I can deal with it. Yeah, but I know more than likely it's gonna be a just matter of time till it just breaks up because it's just my family's awesome. You know, they love everybody and their faults. So if you don't like my family, that probably I would never pick nobody like that more likely. But if I did, for some odd reason make a mistake, it's just gonna be a matter of time. And so that's a litmus because I know that it's just I don't deal with those kind of people in general. Like, yeah. So I love when people give me input and maybe see some things I may not see. I'm not too fickle that where I can't determine shit for myself as well. Or I can let them know, like, no, it's not that. It's not she was being rude. She was just having a bad day or something like that. You can always tell that when it's stuff like that. But yeah, I take that in consideration. It might not be the end all, but I take it to the consideration.
Okay, so chill. So you've been with this girl, this woman, for let's say 6 months. You've never introduced her to your family. But for whatever reason, she doesn't like them or they don't like her. But you really like this girl. You really like her. I mean, like I said, she's the one. So you're going to potentially end this relationship because they don't like your family or vice versa.
What I'm saying is that would never happen. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That would never happen. If it just wouldn't. The first time it did, the one time it did, my mom was right. I should, the one and only time I did that, and it wasn't that she didn't get along with us or the family. It was just she rubbed people the wrong way. And because like I said, my family can get along with anybody, but
Did
overall
she
they would see it certain ways, and they were like, oh. And when you put up with a lot of people that you don't necessarily like my sister's boyfriend or whatever they call each other, we ain't like this ass for years, ever. But he still come to family gatherings and we still accept you. We still gonna feed you. We still gonna laugh. You know what I'm saying? We gonna if they with you, we gotta accept them regardless. And so that's what I'm saying. If it, come hell high like water, my family will let you in. And if you decide not to come in and be exclude yourself, you can't be a grown up like for picnics and parties and graduations. You're just not gonna be. No, I don't think I would be with no. I'm that irrational, right? And it just ain't happening, and that would bother me because I mean that irrational thought process would come into more than just that. It would become to our relationship. So I wouldn't be with nobody that irrational in general. So that's why I say it wouldn't even happen with me because it takes a lot for you not to get along with my family. You know, we're not disrespectful unless you're just like some totally out there person that just don't like people. And I wouldn't be with nobody like that though. So
I find that very, very interesting. Okay. I'm passing the mic to Frankie, and Frankie says, "Thank you for including me on your panel. It means so much to me." I know it does, Frankie. No problem whatsoever. I'm still thinking about what Chill says. All right, so
so what makes you think? What makes it interesting?
I mean, because I think that first of all, you know, everyone doesn't like everyone. As much as you may think your family is like, the greatest thing, whatever, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all think that our families are this, whatever, or your mom is this, your dad is this, your sister is this, whatever. But everyone doesn't like everyone, and it just could be, something that just, rubs you the wrong way. I mean, I mean, how many people do you know, or even if it's just one person that you say, there's just something about her, there's just something about him that I don't know what it is, but it just rubs me the wrong way. I just don't like them for some reason, or they just bug me. It could be something like that. It's just that something about that person just bugs them. That is possible.
Yeah, but I mean that's not the law of averages though. We're talking about the whole family. Like I can have a
Well, I mean, well,
you
if
know
people don't like your
I got to
entire
have
family, then
that's what I'm saying. That's a problem. Is that everybody don't like if them, that's the problem. That I'm just saying if some all right, my bro, I don't like that. I don't like her ass. I don't, because she did whatever thing to me. She was rude to me one day. I can get over that. Your sisters and brothers as well. Sometimes your sisters and brothers ain't right, right? So you ain't worried about what they think anyway. You love them because they you gotta love them. You know what I'm saying? So if my sister, I know she got a temper and she don't like nobody telling her what to do, and my girlfriend put her in her damn place and she don't like her for that, that ain't the same. That ain't what I'm talking about. My girl will put your ass in your place because you stepping out of line like you always do. You know what I'm saying? I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about when it's legitimate. Like if you're with a situation to like I don't know this person is good. I mean, definitely not good for you. Like I don't know if that's here we go. Here we go. Toxic relationship again. She's arguing in front of your family. Don't care who there. I don't know. Sometimes remind them of a physical relationship you might have been in at one point, and you can kind of tell when that person's been there. You know what I mean? Drug habit or something like that, and like, are you on drugs again? Is this person got you on? So things like that is what I'm saying. Like it could be some not so real shit, or it's just some uncomfortable shit that happens, and the family just doesn't like that person. But I wouldn't. My point is that I think I vet people enough to where if that person's around, at very least they could be able to be at the main. I'm not saying my sister and her got to be bosom buddies, gardening and baking cakes and shit together. I mean, but they still cordial when we're out, and it's relationships are
okay.
growing. And just because I'm with them, don't mean they got to be with them, but they ain't got to be rude and shit.
Okay. Sure, you always make me laugh. Okay, Saba, I'm coming to you. You said that marriage is a scam. Why is marriage a
Sure is.
scam?
Sure is a
Oh,
scam, man. Why are you letting the government up in your bedroom and into your family life? Like, why are we allowing, first of all, like, why do we need to be legally bonded to another person if monogamous relationships were natural?
I'm sorry. I was just thinking about my mother. My mother just popped into my head.
Let's talk about your
It's like,
mother.
yeah, because in my family, you got married before you did anything else. So, I'm not, I mean, she didn't have to know about the sex stuff and everything, but in terms of like babies and stuff, you better have a ring on your finger. So when you said that, I'm sorry, that just popped into
Yeah,
my head.
to
But I
create a
mean,
sense of security, right?
I get what you're saying. A lot of people do think that marriage is a scam. At one point, I said I would never get married. I mean, I didn't get married until I was 35. You know, but that was because I wanted to do everything that I wanted to do. And my dad always told me and my sister, make sure that before you get married, that you travel, you do everything that you want to do, because if you marry someone that's not going to like the job you have, and you're traveling, you're doing this, you're doing that, whatever, just do all the things that you want to do, which is one thing that I did. But at the same time, I didn't want to get married. But so you really think that marriage is the government being in your business?
Yes. Like, first of all, like, I mean, if you want to commit to somebody, you should, you know, be able to do that. Unfortunately, we live in a world that is highly manipulated and socially engineered, and trust between two people has been greatly compromised. And I believe that part of this problem is that people do not self-define. They allow others to define them. They allow status to define them. They allow, people, no matter what status they have in their life, what role they play in their life, to define them instead of defining themselves. And honestly, like, our world is fucked. Let's just face it. We're fucked. It's all going to shit. I mean, I don't believe in free will. And that's probably why marriage is accepted so much, because free will doesn't exist, and we all know that subconsciously, if not consciously. So there you have it. And I wanted to respond to something someone said to me in the chat. So let me find it real quick. Blue Rock. What did Blue Rock say? Said a lot of things. Dang it. I lost it. Blue Rock, what did you say? She's saying a lot of things. We're kind of going back and forth here in the chats about the Bible and stuff like that. And
one thing I will say is, like my shows do, we start off with one subject and now we're talking about the government in your bedroom. So, all right.
Well,
So,
oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Marriage should be more than, it should be something other than church and state. Because first of all, I mean, church, that's a controversial topic, so we'll just kind of lay off that. Church should be separate from state too. But in state, like if you want to have a contract with somebody, that's one thing, but don't call it a marriage. Don't let it define your relationship with somebody. That's all I wanted to say.
okay. I will go over to see. Let's see. I need the government. Michael says I need to get the government in my bedroom. I'd be richer. Oh boy. All right. So Crucible.
Are we talking about marriage now?
We're talking about whatever. This show jumps all over the place.
Yeah, I think there's a societal pressure. I'm not married. I thought I came close a few times, and I felt a little bit of societal pressure. I felt a little bit of family pressure. I felt like if I didn't, I'd be a weirdo. But it went against my natural instincts. And I typed something in the chat, and Angie responded, and I wasn't referring to everybody. I just said people get married because they're afraid of being alone. Now I know that people will get married because they want to have children. That's a huge driver. I'm not discounting that at all. But particularly people who get married later in life when children maybe aren't an option anymore. I mean, I think they're afraid of being alone. They're afraid of the societal ostracization that sometimes comes with being single, or the stigmatization that comes with it. And let's face it, nobody likes being alone. I mean, I'm single. I spend a little bit more time alone than I prefer to, but I chose this. I made a very, 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 very conscious decision not to get married because it went against what I thought my natural instincts would be. And I thought I'd make a bad husband. But I don't know that love and family are necessarily always the driver of marriage. It's self-preservation in a lot of ways.
I'm gonna push back on that because I don't think that people, especially if they get married later in life, let's say someone gets married in their 60s, 70s, you have people who are getting married in their 80s. I don't think it's necessarily that they don't want to be alone, because like I said, I know people who are older and they have a fantastic social life. I know one particular woman who was in her 80s and she's always talking about her sex life. So I think it all depends. I think marriage is a conscious choice. If you choose to do it, more power to you. If you choose not to do it, then don't do it. So Bahram, are you there? Do you want to say something? Or okay, I'm going to keep going. Shy Lady. You there, Shy Lady?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So
Sure.
I'm going to start wrapping up. But do you have any? I mean, what do you think? Like Saba said, that marriage is a scam. And by the way,
That's
congratulations on your 29 years of
perfect
marriage this
segue,
week.
huh? Perfect segue. I think I think it's subjective. It depends on the person. Sava got her opinion, but there's other people, not saying me or whatever, but there's other people that would say, it's the greatest thing ever. It all depends on the person. You might think it's a contractual agreement, and some people might. I mean, there's a lot of people that say, oh, it's a piece of paper shouldn't define it, but I look at it different ways. It depends on who the person is. I have a relative who recently got married a couple of months ago. Now she had been with this man. She's young, not that young, but like in her 30s, and she had been with this man probably about 6 or 7 years. They got 2 kids together. 4 or 5 year old kids, and she's been wanting on this guy a long time to marry her. She would always, whenever her grandmother would say, grandmother's old school, when you gonna get married? And she would immediately get offended and like, I don't need marriage to define me as a woman. I don't need no marriage certificate. Stop pressuring me. And the thing was is that she always wanted to get married, but the guy didn't. And finally, I guess after so many years, he was like, you know what? I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to do this. And I just felt like, her situation, okay, you with this man, he bought a house that you're living in. It's like if something happens to him, because he's in a line of work, he's a cop. He's in a line of work, something happened to him, you're screwed. You're screwed because you don't have anything for your 2 kids. You have nothing because you didn't bother to get legally married. So I always thought, you're screwed. If something happens to him in the line of duty or whatever, he got the house in his name. You don't have anything for your kids because you're not legally married. So I'm glad for her sake that she did, because if something does happen to him, at least her kids and herself will be secure, because she's stay at home mom. So it depends on the person. It depends on the situation. But I think it's all subjective. It works for some people it doesn't. Some people get into marriage and don't know anything about the person, and then you wonder why you're divorced. And then there are some people who have a happy life together. Now here's the thing: no, people tend to put a negative stigma on marriage, because they feel like if you don't get, I'm gonna wrap this up because other people want to talk. If you have an argument or you don't agree, we're not compatible. But guess what? There's nobody in this world that thinks exactly like you. I don't care if it's your mother, your father, your child. Nobody thinks exactly like you. There's never going to be a perfect relationship with anybody. So what works for some don't work for others. So I think the whole thing is subjective. It all depends on the person. I'm not going to criticize or tell people that marriage is this or that, because what works for you may not work for others. It's just me.
And is that your last word? Because I'm actually wrapping up. So will that be your last word, Shy Lady?
That's my last word.
Okay. Okay. Chill. Any last words? Okay. I'm going to go to Crucible. Any last words?
Yes, very interesting topic today. This thing could go, and it did, in a million different directions as usual, but very interesting conversation when it comes to friendships. And that's I'd close with, and I've said this before, I'm not going to keep repeating myself, but they're not all created equal. Be honest with yourself, understand that people are fallible and they're going to disappoint you. And as long as you have a solid foundation as to why or how you conduct your friendships, you're going to get disappointed. People are not going to do always what you want them to do. And so if you judge honestly and you're honest with yourself about the people in your life, what they mean, what they don't mean, what page they're on, what your relationship really is, you'll live a lot healthier life mentally. I think you'll understand who your true friends are, and you won't be so caught off guard when somebody lets you down, because it's going to happen. But anyway, thanks for having me. Great show, Solid.
Thank you. And Saba? Oh, Chill is back.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know you had called me.
I did call on you. Do you have any
Go
last
ahead, Saba.
words?
No, go
No,
ahead, Saba. Go ahead.
no. You go on. You go on.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So thanks everybody for having me. Good to see everybody's faces, smiles, and voices. Yeah, for
Oh,
the
is this
most
on
part,
video?
I would second emotion, second that emotion crucible. People gonna disappoint you. I'm forgiving, and I'm tolerant to more than most. So, but I think relationships are important in general. I don't think cutting people off because of their faults. I mean, because that itself could be seen as a fault. So you just have to be able to kind of balance the scales of what's valuable, what's not, and I mean what you can take and what you can't take, because you don't want to obviously be unhealthy in an unhealthy relationship either. So it's whatever it is for you, but I'm always tolerant, and being a good friend is not necessarily at the forefront of anybody's list when you got a lot of things going on, but to kind of scale back and recenter yourself when you do your priority list, and whether when everything's going awry. That's what I tend to do, and keep the most important people by my side, and they're gonna have faults, so I just try not to gauge them on their negatives and try to you know harp on the positive. But yeah, good. And marriage, and as far as marriage, that's always the interesting subject. It's probably about what you believe in. Typically, I think if you're you're a super religious person, marriage is important because of the legalities of it. So that's a thing, and I guess you could come up with a will or something, or something like that. But at the end of the day, I kind of agree with Saba. I'd rather not. But if somebody told me, like, this is my thing, I want to get married. If you love them enough, you'll do what you got to do, because what does it matter, So yeah. But peace out, everybody. Sprinkles.
Oh, Saba, and I am
I missed out
purposely
on a
giving you
lot,
the
huh?
last word.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So my opinion is that if you want to have good relationships with others, you have to have a good relationship with yourself. And if you want to hold others accountable, you have to hold yourself accountable first. And I think when you do that, you will find that that no one defines you, and you are your worst enemy and your best friend, worst and best that anyone else could ever be. And so, staying true to you is staying true to others. And what background? Basically, don't. And I disagree with that saying, "Do unto others as you would like done unto you," because it's like not everybody wants to be treated the same way as everybody else wants to be treated, but you don't dictate that, and it goes the other way around. So conduct yourself in the way you want to be seen. Don't let others change you. If somebody's an asshole to you, don't become an asshole. That's untrue to you. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, thank you, Saba. And thank everyone. I appreciate you guys coming on Thursday. Jester from Doomsday Podcast will be hosting my show, and it will be on prepping. In fact, the exact title is, if you bear with me for a moment, disaster preparedness. And I've been on Doom Show many, many times. And I am not a prepper, but I do believe that you should prepare for a disaster or whatever. I'm not one of those people who, I don't stockpile food or anything like that, but um, I do believe that you should be prepared in certain situations. And I think it will be a good show. I think that is something that people tend not to do until it's too late. We've all seen situations around the world, in this country, where things happen and people are not ready. I mean, I'm talking about just something as simple as having a flashlight, So I hope you guys come and support Jester for that. So, but in terms of the topic, my show on uh Wednesday, I'm going to talk about love, and we're probably going to get into the whole marriage aspect of it. But in terms of friendship and taking people into the next chapter, like I said, I am, last month I entered a new chapter of my life, and I'm actually very excited. There are things that are going on in my life, where I have to take pause. I have to look around. I have to look at the people who are around me, people who I want in my life, relationships that I'm just starting, that I want to build on. So I think that all of us at some point do take pause and just look around, and we look at where we are in life, and the people who you surround yourself with, I truly believe, um, will determine whether or not you're happy, whether if you have success, or whether you're miserable. But that's just me. So once again, everyone, thank you very much for coming. And she says you might skip that show. I don't know. I think that's a show that you probably want to show up for. So, on that note, everyone, I hope everyone has a great day. Go where the wind takes you, and I hope to see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love this.
Sava,
I love
I'm
this
glad
music.
you came.
Dancing around. Hey.
Well, actually, I have some other music. Because Chill said that I needed some other music,
But
But that's
keep that
okay.
fight
That's
like
okay.
I'm king. That's it. Come on, bell man. Put the face to the shake. And I'm a net. But he just in the.
See, this is what I deal with. But I will tell you this, Chill, on Frankie, I did see the comment. I'm about to give you, Chill. I'm about to give you some props that Frankie gave you in comments on one of my shows. So, you know what? I'm not going to tell you. You have to go in and look at it.
Can I send you a playlist, Solid Blue? I'll send you a good play. Like you can play whatever I send you. By the way,
Gonna have at least one song has some cussing in it.
Yeah. What's up? Here we go.
You know what? If you want cussing, you know whose show you need to go to. You'll get all the cussing you want.
Chill. Will, are you on Telegram?
Thank you, Frankie. Thank you, Frankie. If you would give me a compliment, you're awesome.
I got this real toxic chat you can get into.
You don't even know what the compliment was. You don't even know what the compliment was. So you know what?
I'm thanking her anyway. Sava, thank you. I was thanking Sava too.
Take Sweet Willie with his 2 inches and go home.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What? Solid Blue.
Lay your belly. Lay your belly.
Okay.
All right. And Chill knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Angie do too.